Why won't you go to the doctor? Growing up with a gaggle of brothers meant that there were a lot of accidents and broken bones. Between weird rashes, cracked ribs, broken bones, festering cuts and ingrown toenails, the answer is always I don't need a doctor, I'm fine. One of my brothers almost died of a digestive tract bacteria he picked up abroad, saying it was just a stomach bug, until he was dehydrated and doubled over on his bathroom floor and finally admitted maybe he should go to emergency. My boyfriend also will not go to the doctor. Hasn't had a blood test since he was 17. Why won't you all just go to the damn doctor? I go to my doctor. He tells me it's nothing. Problem persists. I go to another doctor. This is nothing, you are just anxious. Spend rest of my life believing every problem is anxiety related. Fuck. Too real. Because I'll go and it's nothing and I have to spend $300 plus out of my insurance account. Yes, my work insurance is weird. Exactly that, or the doctor is like, I have no idea why you're here, or will be like, let's do 10K of testing. Honestly, I am kind of like this. It's not because I am a tough guy, it's because going to the doctor is a giant pain in the ass. I had a massive headache a few months ago. I had one in the morning and one that night. I would have ignored it if it was just one, but two lead me to Google. Google of course says massive headaches are a reason to see a doctor. Now, this was the worst headache I have ever had, and I only had it for maybe 5 minutes before it faded. Sounds like a thunderclap headache and could be a stroke aneurysm. I almost go to the ER, but the next day passes okay. I still decide to go. Call my usual doctor. Oh, your wife transferred your service to another doctor, we can't help you. Okay, she probably told me this, and since I see the doctor like once a year for a physical, no biggie. Call new doctor. Oh, she doesn't work Mondays, can you come in tomorrow? Sure. Take off work, go to appointment. Fill out shitload of paperwork that mysteriously didn't get transferred over. See doctor, give history. No biggie. Doctor recommends CAT scan. Okay. Has to schedule at local hospital. Week goes by before they can see me. Hope my brain doesn't explode. Take more time off work. Go to hospital to get scan. Fill out more paperwork. Same info at least 2 other doctors have. Get scan. Ask about results and told it can take up to 48 hours. Okay. Hope brain doesn't explode. Get results. Doc needs me to come to her office. Okay. More time off work. Scan shows nothing urgent, some atrophy that is unusual for my age. Get referred to neurologist. Okay. Week later I take more time off work to go see him. He wants an MRI. Okay. Week later I take more time off work to get MRI. Have to check that all my info is the same from last time. It is. More paperwork. Go see neurologist. No bleeds or clots, looks clean. Atrophy isn't as bad as the guy who took the CAT scan thought. Meanwhile, I had some lightheadedness and ringing in one of my ears. Get and referral. I still haven't seen them because they are busy 2 months out as fast as they could get me in. So in this I have spent months of time, lots of money, traveled to 3 different towns to see 3 different doctors and have another one coming up. All to tell me they have no idea what's going on. I could have ignored it and gotten the same information. So yeah. Fuck it. Unless I am bleeding from somewhere or in massive pain, I will just wait it out. Yup. This sums it up pretty well. This summarized my entire health journey trying to get better. Nothing was ever accomplished, and I had good insurance with good benefits to have the luxury to take time off. Even then it was expensive, nothing came from it, and it was like a 3-year process. I just accepted that I am going to die, but I'd rather die at home than a hospital. My friend happens to be a doctor. I just call him up and am like, yo motherfucker, this is happening, what I do. Step 1, get a friend. Step 2, convince that friend to study medicine. Step 3, survive until you can call him. I find it to be a waste of money most of the time. A year or so ago I had a bad cold. My girlfriend and her mom nagged me to go to the doctor because they thought it was the flu. I knew this wasn't the case, but I went anyway. I sat in a waiting room for an hour. They swabbed my cheek, sat in an exam room for another 45 minutes just for them to tell me what I already knew. I didn't have the flu. Just recently I dislocated my shoulder. I was pretty sure it had popped back into place, but my cousin who was with me convinced me to go get checked out at the ER. Went in and played the waiting game, got X-rayed and talked to a doctor for 2 minutes and then got a bill for $500. This is just my experience though. I will definitely go if I know there's something not right with me, but most of the time Dr. Google's diagnosis is spot on. Nagged me to go to the doctor because they thought it was the flu. Hell, even if you had the flu, there isn't a huge need to go to the doctor unless you're unusually ill and are running a dangerously high fever. The only thing they can give you that you can't already access at home is Tamiflu, which only mitigates symptoms and takes a few days to do that. By the time you feel sick enough to visit a doctor from the flu, you're usually already at the peak or on the downslope. So there's not a whole lot Tamiflu will do for you that wasn't already going to happen on its own. A virus just has to do its thing. I will definitely go if I know there's something not right with me, but most of the time Dr. Google's diagnosis is spot on. Yep, same here. Whenever I go, I largely get ignored. Either you're young, you'll be fine, or here have this referral to a specialist 8-12 weeks waiting time. I also have a chronic stomach issue. Ended up in emergency twice because of it with inflamed liver. Both times sent home with codeine and 7 days liver test. Test was fine, so they didn't chase it up, only for me to get another inflammation a month later. Cycle continues. At some point you become disheartened, and going to sleep in the hope that you'll feel good after is better than being told to fuck off. For me it's cause as a kid my mother would always say if it hurts in 3 days we'll go to the doctor. 90% of the time it doesn't hurt after 3 days. No insurance. I'll take my money that I need over a 3-figure bill for something I can probably just Google and keep myself healthy in every other way I can. Every single time info to the doctor, regardless of where it's at, I never get real help. Either I'm ignored, not taken serious, misdiagnosed, or leave with another problem without solving my original problem. Oh, and a big bill for nothing. I'm really curious about this response because I hear a lot of "I'm not taken seriously, I keep getting ignored" from women, but it seems like men are getting that too and just don't go to the doctor because of it. I went in for my yearly checkup a few weeks ago and got diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety because my BP was elevated. It was elevated because I just got off a job site where everything was going wrong and I had to rush through traffic to make it on time. I live in the US. Can't afford it, especially mental health stuff. Literally. I went to look for a therapist only to find they're like $150 an hour. I'm not saying they're not worth that, but the fact most Americans can't afford that is sad. My fiancé hated doctors and the entire industry so much that his refusal to admit he needed help ultimately led to his death. By the time that the pain was bad enough that he couldn't hide it anymore, I think it was already too late. After that, I'm now a guy who will go to the doctor for anything and everything. Highly recommended if you have insurance, or live in a country with free healthcare. Find a primary care doctor, establish a good relationship with them, go for yearly physicals, and stop into an urgent care clinic if anything comes up that can't wait for an appointment. Ridiculous cost of care, US, even with most insurance. When I go to any physician aside from my own, they always want to run test after test after test because of an ailment I have that I am very knowledgeable of and actively treat. Only once did another doctor talk to me and take my word that I'm up on maintenance of said ailment. Makes urgent care scenarios for things like weekend sinus infections turn into absolute nightmares, time-wise and financially. I'll go for substantial issues, emergencies, and I believe in prevention and continued treatment of ailment mentioned above, so I do hit my doctor up once a year for a physical, although this year's will be delayed due to the current public health crisis. I assume, since this is Reddit and the majority of the users are Americans, it's because they don't want to get financially ruined for nothing less than lethal. Pretty much any time I see my doctor with a concern, he just shrugs it off with "You're young, you'll be okay." Last time it happened, I couldn't lift my arm without feeling pain. I'm not saying he was wrong, it did get better in about a week, but it always makes me feel like I'm wasting his time and mine. I'm in my late 20s, so maybe when I'm 30 I won't be too young to have any serious concerns. I hadn't been to a doctor in nearly a decade when my wife finally convinced me to go over some mystery illness that had me laid low for a couple days. Finally went, got poked and prodded and asked questions for about 15 minutes for the doc to finally shrug and say it was probably something viral and to just relax and stay hydrated and come back if it got worse. Dude, that's what I've been doing. Now I've wasted an afternoon for you to tell me to keep it up. I just went to a dermatologist yesterday to lance a small cyst on my elbow. Thing was driving me fucking crazy, couldn't rest my arm on my computer chair. A manlier man would have gotten a kitchen steak knife and done it himself, but I had it done by a pro. So, we're not all bullheaded. Like some other replies, it just feels like a fruitless waste of time. Recently took myself to the ER over an incredibly painful and sudden snap in my throat. I couldn't talk or drink or swallow. 4 different people had me explain my issue to them. I could barely whisper out the words. I sat on a cot for 9 hours. Every swallow was excruciating. They took blood, did an X-ray, and sent me home with Tylenol. Never heard back. Despite calling and asking, 2 weeks later when I could talk again. I can't talk sing in a high pitch anymore. But hey, free Tylenol. I also tried to get my lifelong migraines diagnosed many times. Often have them for days at a time. Wouldn't ya know it, more free Tylenol and directions home. Cool.